this photo, the Bible verse that comes to mind, a Bible verse comes to mind. It's, so the last shall be first and the first last. For many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew 20:16. The reason I remember that Bible verse, I was about 11 years old here, and I was attending catechism at the local Catholic church in a small town where I lived. The catechism class was for a whole year, and I had to walk halfway across town to get to this class. And the only thing I remember about these classes, the Bible verses and the practice to pray to God and to come to Him with your thoughts, needs, and prayers. I also remember being called not the best student of the class, and I was a very shy little girl, semi-middle child, and I seemed to take a back seat of being noticed in my family and in life, and I really felt it. My father wasn't a part of my life. Unfortunately, at 11 years old here, I carried that with me. And in the class, the teacher called me not the best student because I would arrive late. Yes, it seemed very taxing for me to walk all the way across town. I was very shy, not very social, so I didn't participate. I was painfully shy to speak, or I always felt I was picked last for some reason. But my point is that it was very difficult and challenging for me to not know my worth. And that's something I learned later in life, and grateful for my faith. But to get back to the Bible verse, first shall be last. So in feeling that way, it came graduation time, all the little boys and girls dressed up non-denominational Christian. Now I can't remember the exact meaning in the Catholic denomination, religion, what that means, but I assumed that we were getting married to Jesus. I'm assuming that's what that means. We all dressed up like little brides and little grooms, and we line up at the church door, and we walk our way up to the altar and do the graduation ceremony, the completion of the catechism. So normally I went to the back of the line at the end of all these little boys and girls dressed in my little white gown here, and I noticed the catechism teacher was scrambling. She was panicking, scrambling, getting all the little boys and girls together, lined up, boys on this side, girls on the other side. And it turns out that she was looking for the girl who was going to lead all the boys and girls up into the altar to present this big, wonderful bouquet at the altar in the front of the church. It turned out she didn't show up, and she was scrambling. The teacher was scrambling with this big bouquet of flowers. And as she kept looking at the door, I was one of the last kids, and I was there. And she bumped into me with this big old bouquet of flowers, and she said, "Here." And in bumping into me, she just looked at me, and she let these big old bouquet of flowers roll into my arms. And I looked up at her, and I bit confused, and she grabbed my shoulders and she walked me up to the front of the line, and she told me, "Lead the children to the front of the altar." And here I was, this little painfully shy girl, seeing everybody in the pews looking back, all the parents and people in the church looking back at us children, and I was at the front of at the line of these kids that all are graduating with me. I was at the front with this big bouquet of flowers. And she said, "Go walk." And they put on some music, and they had me walk. And I was walking alone down the aisle up into the altar with this big bouquet of flowers, and all the children were following me. And she told me before I left, she told me to place the flowers at the altar of God. And I did. I had that feeling again as an adult that things seemed to be happening to me, and I perhaps didn't have any favor. And he reminded me of this moment, and he showed me what that meant. He showed me the significance of what that meant, that even when I was a little child and felt that my worth was very little, even when I was a little child and felt that I was always last, he showed me that with him I am not last. He showed me that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. I remember if I grasp onto my relationship with God and who I am in God's eyes, that you trust that you are the person God says you are, that you trust in the dream that He placed in your heart, that you trust in the direction that He's telling you to go. He will lead you. He will lift you up. He will rise you up in His time.